Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Skill Issue, the only show on the internet. I'm here with Seth once again, and
What's
guys, we have
up?
some exciting news for you today.
Yeah, we do.
As you all know, our last live show was actually in Vatican City. Guys, we just got on off a plane coming back from Rome.
Pope is a great guy.
Uh, yeah, he is a great guy. First of all, shout out to everyone who packed out the Colosseum. I didn't even know that was possible,
Oh, the
or that they
Vatican gets
still did
turned.
stuff in it. Yeah, no, it was crazy. It was crazy. But shout out everyone for coming out to Rome. You guys are great. But after the show, it was so weird. After the show, Seth and I were walking back to the tour bus, and I got stopped by the Pope himself. He dapped me up, and he was like, "Hey, big fan of the show. I was wondering, been listening since episode 1. I was
Yeah.
wondering, can you do the next episode about my favorite game, Undertale?" And I was like,
Bro, my
yeah.
mind,
I
bro,
was
my
like,
brain, like, boom.
I was like, yeah. I know, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was like a surreal experience, like dapping up the Pope and
He's
having
so
him ask us to do
nonchalant,
an
bro.
episode. Yeah, he's crazy chill actually.
Like, you'd think,
Um,
like, the power of God would be surging through him at all times, but he's just, like, a chill, humble, down-to-earth guy, bro.
I know, like we ended up inviting him onto the tour bus actually, and we smoked a joint with him. Um,
Wait, can we say that?
and yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
everybody
think he
knows that
tries
the
to,
Pope's chill
yeah.
like that. You know.
Yeah, his goons
So,
just
but
made me worried, like, on the bus. They were like, hey, bro, like, cameras off type shit.
yeah, the Pope guard is like, you don't fuck with the Pope guard, let me tell you.
Aren't they
But
called, like, Grand Wizards or something?
uh, I I don't think we can say that actually. Um, but no, what was crazy is I asked him on the bus. I was like, how come you want us to do a episode about Undertale? And he's like, couple years ago, a good friend of mine gave me a copy, gave me a Steam code, and I've just been in love with it.
Guess who it was? Guess
Like
who gave him the game? I didn't believe this shit either.
no, I didn't believe this. It was actually fucking Matt Pat. Isn't that
Matthew
crazy?
Patrick, baby,
Matthew
YouTube
Patrick.
legend,
Yeah.
Sans' Ness.
And that's right, and he is. We'll get into that, but yeah. So anyway, this episode's dedicated to the Pope. Shout out my boy,
Shout
and
out the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit for real.
yeah, today's episode is about Undertale.
Woo!
Um, this is one of Seth's favorite games, actually.
Dude, I love it. I
Um,
love it. Love it. Love it. I
yeah,
wanted to
what's
do an Undertale episode because we had been kind of on a binge of like these first person games, all amazing, obviously some shooters. I was like, let's switch it up, bro. Let's go third person and 2D. You know what I'm saying? A whole new genre.
hell yeah,
Just
indie game. Yep.
yeah. And I just started replaying it recently, and I was like, while my mind is fresh, while everything's hot on my plate, I'm super excited to talk about this game, dude.
Hell yeah, Seth. What kind of? I love Undertale too, by the way. It's a fantastic game. Really important for gaming in general and
Oh yeah.
gaming culture. Um, what was your first experience? What cemented Undertale as like having a place in your heart?
I'll give you like my brief history with Undertale is my family had these family friends, the Haltermans. I said had, they still are friends. We just live across the country, don't get to talk as much. But I remember being in their house watching Lily play Undertale on their computer. It was like one of those Apple PCs that it's just a monitor and like the whole PC is like built into the display screen. They were
Hmm.
just playing Undertale and I thought it looked kind of cool. Briefly saw memes online of it, but I wasn't a gamer back then. So when I began my gaming journey again, um, like a year or two ago, Undertale just seemed like a logical game to play. It was like a titan in the game industry. Heard so many
Hmm.
good things about it, and I felt like I would like it. Just seemed like the kind of game I'd be into. I played it and was just blown away. Like you hear people say the game is good, you hear that it's amazing, but it's one of those experiences where once you lock in, play it and soak it all up, you're just impressed that one dude was able to make something so amazing.
Yeah, Undertale is like a marvel to what indie games can accomplish. Like before. before Undertale came out, the expectation for indie games was relatively low, I feel. Like
Yeah.
people didn't expect much of them. People didn't definitely didn't expect them to compete with like AAA games. And then Undertale came out and kind of changed all that, kind of in the blink of an eye.
I th-
And
I actually want to add something to that. Like the state of gaming, even nowadays you can find a lot of cute indie games that are for like a niche community, but I feel like Undertale had that similar Five Nights at Freddy's community where there's all these kids and these young people that don't want to play a shooter. They don't want a game where everybody's dying. They don't want like these super macho male leads that you find in games like Gears of War or even Halo to an extent. They want something like sweet, something that matches their personality. And I feel like Undertale covers a side of gaming that didn't get enough appreciation. Same thing with Five Nights at Freddy's. Like it's just these people enjoy games like that, and there's just not enough of them.
yeah, no, I agree. And now it's crazy because nowadays, like, you have AAA games where their launch is put in jeopardy if a big indie game is coming out around the same time. That's like that was unheard of 10 years ago
Oh
when
yeah,
games like Five Nights at Freddy's and Undertale were coming out. Um,
and
like it was like nowhere near the same level. They were considered like
no,
two different levels, and now they have to directly compete with each other, and it's because of games like Undertale.
and what's so interesting is indie games and game companies, the only separation is staff size and money. And I feel like staff size and money can go one way. You can get a huge, well rounded, polished game, a ton of creative ideas coming from different brains. Or you could get something that's muddied, too many contradicting visions, too much money getting in the way of things. But these solo
Hmm.
developers can create something entirely out of their own mind. One person's insane vision of something, one person's like child is this game, which makes it infinitely more beautiful, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You don't have publishers to answer to. You don't have to answer to focus groups or
Yeah,
like you just make what you want to make and a lot of them flop, but a lot of them especially more recently get pretty good attention and pretty good results.
right? So
So,
before we get into the creation of Undertale, I want to ask you, you have played Undertale. Do you remember where you were in life and like what your general experience was with it when you played it?
well, yeah, I was a teenager when Undertale came out. It came out in 2015. Um, so I was a teenager when this game came out. Uh, as I believe either a freshman or a sophomore in high school.
Nice.
And I had just started gaming on PC. Up until this point, I was like a console gamer, and I had like an Xbox and a PlayStation 2,
The
and
XBZ.
whatever, the XBZ, and we had like a Wii as well, and that was like kind of where I did most of my gaming. And then my parents got me a laptop for Christmas one year, and like the year before this came out, like 2014, and there were two games that I played on it like relentlessly. Left 4 Dead 2
A
and Undertale were like the first two games that I played on PC.
very different
Um,
games, dude. That's crazy.
yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 is a whole nother rabbit hole, but yeah, so I played Undertale not long after it came out because I was like terminally online at that point, and
You couldn't escape Undertale when it first
yeah, I
released
just saw it
either.
everywhere. No, it was everywhere. It was all over. Like Tumblr used to be really big back then. It was all over Tumblr. Um, it was all over like Reddit and Facebook. Like you just couldn't get away from it. So I played it and I loved it instantly. Um,
Yes.
and I've been a fan of the game ever since.
That's
So
awesome. Well, hell yeah. Well, now that everyone in the audience knows that we love this game, it's time. It's time to gush about it. All right.
yeah, what is Undertale?
Yeah. So Toby Fox is the sole creator of this game. There's a lot of sprite work and like some graphic stuff by someone named Temmie, who's also a game developer. Interesting fact, actually, Temmie has her own little secret shop, her own little secret area of the game that you can go to.
Hmm.
There, it's like a funny bit area, but you can get some armor there that's incredibly powerful, and you can also sell stuff. It's like the only shop you can sell at. Pretty cool. But Toby makes this game. He starts a Kickstarter for it. He gets way more money than he was expecting. So I think, in my mind, I'm sure Toby had a great vision for this game and wanted to make something awesome. But seeing that GoFundMe blow up and like the outpouring of support for this game, I think made him lock in and make Undertale even greater than he intended it to be. I don't know if that's true, but if I was him and I was about to make a game and suddenly got like 10 times what I asked for, I'd be like, okay, it's time to lock in. So,
Yeah, I'm sure he felt like he was like obligated to create something great,
yeah,
you know.
which honestly is a blessing. That's what's cool about game development, and that's what's cool about people. If you have nothing, there are people that are willing to give you something, and this is a great example of that. If you have something to offer in this world, you will get a return 9 times out of 10. But I'm getting off track. He makes the game, he releases it, and I think in like the first 3 months, besides the people that had funded it, no one really paid attention. But then you get the content creators, the PewDiePies, the Jacksepticeye's. Markiplier started it, but was turned
Hmm.
off by the community and ended up coming back to it later. But these content creators gave all these characters voices and started spreading it to these larger audiences. And Undertale was just so good that people couldn't help but like it. It's a hard game to not like.
It is. It's a hard game. It is a hard game not to like. I mean, the characters are super charming. The humor is actually really clever, in my opinion.
Facts.
It's done in really subtle ways. Most of the time. Sometimes it's kind of in your face, but I still think even when it's in your face, the humor works.
Right.
But there's a lot of jokes that are like really, like you don't really realize it's a joke until it's halfway through being told, and you're like, oh, you know. Um,
100%. That reminds me of around when you first meet Sans, there's this whole bit where him and Papyrus are like bantering. He's like kind of toying with Papyrus because Papyrus wants to see a human and you're a hidden, whatever. But he starts cracking these jokes, like just simple puns, these bone jokes. The camera zooms in on him, it plays a funny sound effect. And in moments like that where the humor is even direct, like it's so nice seeing a game not take itself too seriously but have serious themes. Like Sans is such a real intense character when you get to know him, but on the surface he's just like a funny skeleton that makes bone jokes. It give
I
like
mean, there's skeletons that are named after the font their dialogue is written in.
yeah.
Like, you know,
And I think
like,
I'll say this real quick.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
To round out that thought, what I'm trying to say there is that this game rides that line of not taking itself seriously and taking itself seriously. You can have both. You don't need a game that's all memes and jokes. Like you can have those in tandem with serious concepts of like hope and fear and helplessness and even murder in this game and still make it fun. I feel like Toby Fox is probably the kind of guy that uses humor to deal with pain, and you can see that in this game.
This game also knows to kind of piggyback off that. It does know like when to be humorous and when not to be. You
Yep.
know, like it doesn't inject like poorly timed humor into serious situations. It's done very tastefully. Um, but like Toby Fox is also aware that like this is a scene of two stupid looking skeletons talking to each other about capturing a human while you're hidden behind a lamp that's shaped the same way as your character sprite. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean?
No,
So,
100%. But yeah, let's start at the beginning here, all right? There's a war
hmm
between humans and monsters. Humans are much more powerful than monsters off this idea of souls that this game takes very seriously. There's monster souls, there's human souls. Monsters are weaker, humans are stronger, so they win. They're locked underground under this mountain called Mount Ebott. The most powerful human wizards seal it up. and the monsters are just forgotten about. Thousands of years pass. No one goes towards Mount Ebott because everyone who goes there disappears. You find out why. This kid, Frisk, falls down, wakes up in a bed of golden flowers, and that's where you begin the game. You have fallen into Mount Ebott, into the world of monsters. And the
You are
first,
Frisk.
yeah, you are Frisk. And the first person you meet is a flower, actually, a little cute flower, um, who ends up becoming a very serious character. Mike, what do you know about Flowey? What do you know about that guy?
Flowey is just a nice little friend. He shows you the basics of the controls, and he's like, "This is how you fight monsters, and this is how you dodge attacks." And also, I can't let you enter because you're evil and will kill everyone. And then he tries to murder you.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, who wouldn't in this situation? You know, like the dude's literally a flower,
Yep.
and you basically just fell on him. Like you kind of gave him like a full body tackle. You know, and I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less, to be
Right.
honest.
Yeah, I like this intro a lot because in a blind playthrough, you don't know anything about the underground. You don't know anything about the monsters, which I think is
Hmm.
cool because realistically, this character also wouldn't. And this is your first experience in the game realizing that like you're not welcome here. Like this place does not want you. This flower right off rip, like the cutest, simplest looking thing, is evil, and it sets this tone of like should I be scared? Do I trust these people? Like it immediately fills you with a lot of contradicting emotions, which is pretty cool. But
Yeah, no, the flower. It is a genius kind of intro because the flower symbolizes like everything that you'll deal with for all the characters throughout the rest of the game. It really is kind of a microcosm of the entire game
right,
itself.
done
Um,
super well. And once we get to who he is, I'll add more to that because once you find out who he is, it adds like a bunch of other layers of good game design. But
yeah.
um, yeah, right before Flowey kills you, like he is going to kill you. You have one health. There's no way to escape. A fireball comes out of nowhere and just smacks him. He goes flying. And this is when you meet Toriel. And what I think's really cool about Undertale is Toby Fox made all the music, and he uses the music really creatively. There's some songs that are
Mhm.
just bangers that he puts in there in intense scenes. But when you first meet Toriel, this song kicks in, like this beautiful, comforting, homey song. Like it gives you the impression of safety. Like Toriel just saved you, you're safe with her. This is like a mother figure. So you get the complete opposite of Flow. You go from this evil thing that wants to kill you to this soft, warm heart that wants to help you, guide you, and keep you protected. Showing that like there's evil monsters and there's good ones, like we said. Like it goes on to show you that every single person you meet is gonna be every monster you meet is gonna be entirely unique, and that each of them is like fully fleshed out.
Yeah, I also want to say the visual contrast here is really smart. Like you have a flower, which is it's literally a flower with a face on it. That
Yeah.
is like trying. Flowers are generally symbols of like tranquility and peace.
Yep.
And it's trying to kill you. And then the thing that actually looks more like a monster, which is Toriel,
Yep.
is the one that's trying to protect you.
Yep.
Like, you know, I just think that I don't know if that was intentional or not, but if it was intentional, like it's very smart character design and like pacing, you know, to really like you said, it kind of sets the tone for like you really have to find out. You have to go that length to find out like who wants to kill you and who doesn't,
Yep.
you know.
And this is accentuated. Toriel just starts to like guide you through the ruins. They just take care of
Just
you, be
literally
sweet to
hold your
you.
hand.
But eventually, you come across a dummy and it introduces combat. And this is the most important part of Undertale: is you have decisions to make. You can kill something. You can act by like talking to them, learning about who they are. You can show mercy. The game gives you a lot of ways to tackle each encounter in the game, giving the player freedom to truly be themselves. You can learn about who these people are and save them. You can learn who they are, kill them, or you can just kill them straight up. And all of these decisions you make will actively affect the game and the way the game goes. So I want to preface here that we will be talking about the version of the game True Pacifist, because this is the canon way that it's supposed to go, and I feel like it's just the best timeline. But at the end, I am down to talk about genocide a little bit and what happens there. But yeah, I just wanted to lay that out here.
Yeah, and this is like we talked in the BioShock episode about choices and
Yep.
you know how the game presents you with choices. This game is really has a huge emphasis on your choices. Like everything, like you said, everything you do affects the game in ways that you don't even notice. You wouldn't even have any way of knowing
Right? It's
until you
not like
played it a second
Telltale
time.
where it's like Sans will remember that. Like you don't get that. Like you don't get the will remember that shit. Like you do something and that's just permanent. You have to just
And
lock
in a
in and find
Telltale
out.
game, he probably wouldn't remember that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but
Toriel continues to guide you through the ruins. Eventually, she has to leave to go do something and tells you not to move. You obviously are gonna move, so you leave. You start adventuring the ruins on your own,
mhm.
exploring, meeting people. A lot of cute moments. I wish I could talk about like every moment in this game, but we won't be able to. My
Can we
favorite
talk
part.
about the ghost?
Oh my god, yeah. Actually, in the ruins, you meet a really cool character who is tied to one of my favorite moments in the game that we'll get to later. Their name's Napstablook. Um, that's funny
Yeah,
that you brought
interesting
it up. Do
name.
you like Napstablook? Was that like a character that
I
you?
love him. I love
Yeah.
him. I love how the good ending with him is he just shows you his hat.
Yeah. Check out this cool
That's
hat I
it.
got.
And then he's like all better. He's in like a pit of depression basically, and he's like blocking your path. And obviously you can just kill him, and like that'll certainly get rid of him.
Well,
But
technically not, because he's a ghost. He makes
well,
fun of you
yeah,
for that.
technically he's already dead. But
Yeah.
the way you like get him out of your way politely is you cheer him up and you get him out of his pit of sadness.
Right?
And uh, and he at the end he's like, "Well, do you want to see my hat?" And it's a cool little hat that he
Yeah.
shows you. But that's it. Then he just like he moves.
And Napstablook will appear like I think he has two like random out in the wild encounters where he just shows up and makes things awkward. But I'll
Yeah, he
say
pops up here and there.
my favorite part in the game, it comes like way ahead, but I'll say it now while we're talking about Napstablook is you go to their house because they just invite you over when you enter the waterfall. You go in there, look around at all their silly little shit. But if you go into their fridge, Napstablook's like, "Oh yeah, I'll grab you something to eat if you're hungry." Hands you a ghost sandwich. You bite into it. Nothing happens because it's, you phase
It's a
right
ghost
through it.
sandwich.
You
Yeah.
both stare at each other, and then Napstablook goes, "My favorite thing to do after eating is like lying on the ground and feeling like garbage. Do you want to do that with me?" And you can lay on the ground with Napstablook, just feeling like garbage. But if you lay there long enough, the background starts to fade away and these beautiful stars show up through it, and this like horrifying but beautiful song plays in the background. It's like this creepy wave of like empty space and like desolation. It's just a really cool moment in the game where you're just like you get close with a character, you partake in their life, and you get taken to somewhere beautiful,
You literally just vibe with him.
right?
Like you just lay on the floor and like have a vibe sesh with him.
And it only ends when you end it too. Like you can lay there as long as you want with bro. But yeah, really
Yeah.
beautiful moment in the game. The first time I came across that, bro, like it just blew me away, dude. I was so touched, and I was like, this guy Toby gets it, bro. Like he gets what it means to be human and to love someone, but
Oh yeah.
I'm
We'll talk.
rambling. Yeah.
Napstablook is not my favorite character for what it's worth.
Yeah, he's not
Uh,
mine either, but that is my
but
favorite moment.
yeah. We'll talk. I'm sure both of us will talk about our favorite characters when they come up. Um, but we can. But yeah,
Yeah,
I just like that moment because I feel like it encapsulates a lot of what Undertale is about. So
100%. But yeah, we
and
press.
he's a funny little ghost.
He's so
But
fucking funny. I love all the characters in this game. Toriel
yeah.
continues with you through the ruins. It's the whole ruins area is more or less like a tutorial to get you used to the game. At the end of
Hmm.
it, You arrive home. Toriel calls you previously to ask if you like cinnamon or butterscotch. She's making you a pie. She shows you to your room, which is interesting. You just met this woman and she's already like giving you a room. She says that she's got education set up for you. Like off rip is like just kind of claiming you as her own, even though you didn't ask for that. And when talking
Yeah.
to her, you can choose to play along with it for a little bit and get cozy in the home, but eventually you ask her to leave, and she's like, "All right, I'll be right back." You follow her. She goes to the exit of the ruins and is trying to close it so you can't escape, and starts giving you this dialogue about how she's never been able to save a human, that if you go out there, they'll destroy you, like you're not safe, filling you with all these fears and don'ts. But you're determined. So you power through. You have this whole fight with Toriel. It's actually kind of funny because she'll never really kill you. If you get down to 1 health, her attacks start to miss you because she doesn't want
Yeah,
to
she
kill
starts to
you.
purposely miss. Yeah.
Yeah, like the the thought behind that and like the simple way that that's done is so cool. That like this whole attack screen you're
Hmm.
so used to in gaming uh, is affected by her like genuine care of you.
Yeah.
There's just a
Do
lot
you
of
want to
detail.
talk about the combat system here briefly?
Oh my god, yeah, we should.
I feel like Toriel's a good example to use. Yeah, so combat, the way combat works, um, for in a gameplay sense is you have a little heart which represents you, and you're in like a box, and the character throws the attacks at you in the box, and you have to dodge them by moving your heart around to die. It's kind of like bullet hell-esque a little bit, but there's
Yeah,
like some platforming, and eventually you get introduced to like blue attacks that you have to stand still for.
yeah,
Um, but the combat, and then you attack by just like landing attacks. Like you have a line that goes across the screen, and if your timing is good, you can land the hit correctly and it does more damage, right? It's
yeah.
pretty simplistic on its own.
But it's taken
Uh,
as far as it can.
yeah, I mean, first of all, gameplay wise, some of the fights get taken to insane levels where, like, you have to be pretty good at the game to beat some of them. But
Yeah.
also, all of the fights are like extensions of the character you're fighting. Like, they
Good
all kind
point.
of show
Yeah.
you something about the character. So, like we talked about Toriel, the reason I think she's a great example is that she obviously doesn't want to kill you. She's the only reason she's fighting you is to stop you from leaving.
Yeah.
Um, and that's explained through her moves where, like you said, if she starts to win against you and you start to get on low HP, she will start intentionally missing her attacks,
Yup.
you know? Or uh Sans is another example that we'll get to later where at first he's like kind of toying with you because he doesn't really see you as a threat, and then you start outlasting him and you start getting you start tiring him out, and he realizes you could actually be a threat to him, and he starts going faster and faster and
Yeah. He
faster,
locks
right?
in, bro.
You know, like, so the fights are not only gameplay wise interesting because every fight with every character is unique, but they also are interesting from like a story and character arc perspective because they teach you something about the character. And you could read a lot about what the character's intentions are through just their combat mechanics.
Yup. I'm so happy you brought that up because it's genuinely like it goes off that point we were making that every single like monster down here is its own person with its own life, with its own dreams, with its own thoughts. Whether it's like something simple like a frog just saying like ribbit, but like being self-conscious, all the way to someone like Sans.
Yeah.
Every encounter feels unique and every character feels real, and I think that's really
Hmm.
impressive to do in like a 2D world, to have the writing skill to be able to write all these characters differently.
Oh, it's crazy
um,
impressive.
and I think that's something that fans of Undertale have always praised it for, is just the level of detail. A lot of detail went into this game.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
but yeah, no, you get through Toriel, you enter the underground, she tells you not to come back, and you're out, you're free. You enter the massive underground. And I'll tell you, my first time playing, when I exited, I was really scared, bro. Because once you know the world and know all the characters, you know what to expect. But in this moment, like, you don't know what the underground is. You don't know who's out there. You're walking through the snow-covered forest.
Right.
Toby obviously knew this because he makes it creepy. You have like this shadow kind of following you between the tree lines in the background. Twigs are snapping behind you.
Mhm.
There's like an eerie soundtrack playing.
Oriel's not with you, which
Yep,
is,
your
she's
first
kind of
time being
become like
truly
your
alone.
comfort character.
So you're walking, you're scared, and then once you get to a bridge, you freeze and you see the shadow walking up behind you. When he reaches you, he starts talking very slow. Like, don't you know how to greet a stranger? Like, you're a human, aren't you? Like, immediately points out that you're a human, which is interesting. How
Hmm.
the fuck do they know? Um, they reach out, and then you reach out. You shake hands, and then all you hear is a nice big juicy fart. And then it's Sans.
It's fucking Sans, dude.
He
What
starts
an intro to an iconic character.
right, little fart joke, little
Yeah.
whoopee cushion and the
Yeah.
hand trick gets him every time.
Yeah. Sans is always like every scene with him has this aura where like he's supposed to be like it feels like he doesn't want to be who the developer wants him to be. Like
Yeah,
he's supposed to be this super imposing, super scary character who could like kill you with the snap of his fingers. But
yeah.
then he just makes like a bad pun and like walks away and you're just like, "All
Yep.
right."
He literally tells you, he's like, I'm on lookout for humans, but I just don't really care to do that, bro. Like, I don't want to capture anyone right now. He literally says that to you. He's like, I just
Literally
don't
what he
want to.
says. He's like, "Nah."
I'm good.
Uh,
Yeah, he tells you about his brother Papyrus, who is an avid human hunter. All he wants in
oh yeah.
life is to be part of the royal guard and hunt a human. So he's kind of planting these seeds, I feel like almost testing you to like see what kind of person you're going to be, if you're going to play along with everything, if you'll humor like an idiot, or
Hmm.
what you're going to do. And then you meet Papyrus. Yeah, you hide behind a conveniently shaped lamp, like we mentioned. Papyrus
The
shows up.
lamp is so funny.
I mean, it's incredibly conveniently shaped.
Yeah.
Like the odds of that are crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, Papyrus shows up. There's banter between them. Sans cracks jokes, and then this whole section now just becomes these skeleton brothers. You learn about them, their dreams, their aspirations, who they are. Like, they are the first monsters you meet, and they're really likable. Like, you immediately are like, oh, okay, so like these monsters are actually cool. You go from afraid to comfortable. You're going through all these tests, silly shit, and that's about it. You eventually show up to your first town called Snowden.
Hmm.
That's where you get your first shop in the game. In the shops,
Yep.
you can't sell stuff. It's kind of funny. Every shop except Temmie's, they'll be like, "I don't want your junk. Like, why? If I bought all your shit, I'd be out of business."
Yeah.
Flipping like
Good
game
point,
stores on their
honestly.
head. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So many game stores like suspend belief. Like, I feel like Dark Souls does that a lot. You'll find random merchants and people that like
Hmm.
lore wise just doesn't really make sense. Like, why would this random merchant be selling these really bizarre specific items in like a niche place that no one's gonna go? But Undertale does it
Yeah.
well. The people that run the store have stay in the town. They're selling stuff that's related to the area that you'd probably actually find, with obvious fictional creative liberty on some stuff. Pretty cool. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Snowden, you just meet a bunch of people. Papyrus and Sans house is there. Um, there's really not much to it. The town kind of just exists as a place to meet NPCs and learn some lore, buy some items. Um, I think it's the next area in the game that's most interesting. But before we get there, we have to talk about the papyrus fight, because
Well, before
papyrus.
we get there,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I just want to mention my favorite character is in this section.
In Snowden.
Uh, yeah, it's the bandit dog.
Oh my god, the one that can't see you.
Yeah, that can't see you when you're moving. He's your introduction to blue uh
Attacks, yeah.
attacks, and I really like him because I just think he's funny.
Yeah.
Um because he is a dog, right? But he's also like he has two knives that he's trying to like stab you with. But obviously he can't see you when you're not moving. And the way you beat him like passive in the pacifist route is by petting him, which is really funny
Yep.
because he's like this super serious guy, but when you pet him, he just turns into like a regular dog.
Yep. It's actually funny.
Um,
Every single dog enemy in the game, the weapon you start with is called a stick, and if you throw the
mhm.
stick during any dog encounter, you instantly win because they go off and chase it.
Yeah, that's so funny. And but yeah, so I love this character. He's like my favorite character.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Outside of his like shop area, you can find like these burnt dog treats, and it says that someone's been smoking dog treats.
Hmm.
Presumably him.
Presumably him. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's an awesome
anyway,
pick though. He's cool.
yeah. So
But yeah,
yeah, but yeah, Snowden is like you said, mostly about getting to know Sans and Papyrus.
yeah,
Um, what
random
did you think
NPCs
about
and
them when you
stuff.
first met them? I meant to ask you that.
My initial thought of Sans, I didn't take him seriously at all. Like I didn't think he was scary,
It's kind of
intimidating.
hard to.
Yeah, I thought he was just like a silly dude. His brother obviously being someone that could be easily made fun of, like he's a silly dude who wants to do a job he's not good at, like he doesn't have a lot of brains upstairs.
Yeah.
Sans loves him. Like it's not like I'm not he doesn't judge his brother. He thinks everything he does is cool, like has genuine love for Papyrus. And I'm sure
Hmm.
Papyrus, even though he wouldn't admit it, also does. It's kind of cool
Yeah.
actually because obviously I didn't take either of them seriously. I thought they were just funny characters. I was more curious like who they were and where they came from, and like the only thing in the game that kind of explains it is you can talk to the shopkeeper in Snowden, and she says they just randomly showed up one day and kind of like implanted themselves in the town.
Yeah, they're
I
almost like forces of nature in a way.
right?
Like,
Like at this point I had a running theory that they could have been humans. I was like if they're skeletons, maybe there's some magic that like they're humans but were brought down here seen as monsters. That all turned out to
mhm.
be fake. But yeah, I thought they were silly and was just curious where they came from. What did you think about them?
No, I was basically the same way. I thought that they were kind of like, okay, they're like joke characters. Like,
Yeah,
they're like probably the first real boss, and but they're still the first boss, so they're kind of like goofy.
yeah,
Um, and saying they have like idiot younger sibling and smart older sibling kind
yeah,
of back and forth where like Sans is obviously intelligent, but he likes Papyrus enough to not use his intelligence to shit on him all the time.
yeah.
And Papyrus is just like an idiot with a heart of gold, you know?
Literally.
Um but yeah, no, I thought they were funny, but I didn't really think anything much more other than that they were funny
Yeah, 100%.
originally. So,
But yeah, no, you eventually you want to cross out of Snowden, but Papyrus wanting to be
mhm.
part of the Royal Guard has to catch you. If he captures you, he'll get all the praise he wants. He'll be on the Royal Guard. He'll get the admiration of people that he admires, etc. It has to happen. So you end up in a fight in the middle of a snowstorm, and if you're doing true pacifist, you spare Papyrus. You go through all his attacks, and during it, you start to realize that Papyrus doesn't really want to fight you. You start
No, he wants
talking
to be
to
your
him,
friend.
sparing him. Yeah, he's like, "Wow, you're into all the same stuff I am. Um, let's just stop fighting." If you outlast him instead of like flirting and trying to convince him to go on a date, he's like, "All right, well, obviously, you're too weak to beat me, so we should just stop."
Yeah.
Uh, like I can see you're getting tired over there as he's like huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you
Wait, did you want to talk about, can I just say briefly, the traps that he sets for you are like so funny. Where like he sets all these like super elaborate traps and then also manages to give away the solution. to every
Oh,
single
like the
one of them.
snow one where he walks the path that was supposed to be
He's like, you
invisible.
must find the exact path through this maze, otherwise you will die. And then but he leaves his footprints in the snow, so you could just follow his footprints. And then he's like, how did you do that?
Right? There's another one
Like,
where he talks about Dr. Alpha setting up this trap. There's like a bunch of colored squares that all do different stuff. Orange one makes you smell like orange. If you step in the water smelling like orange, the piranhas will attack you. If you step on pink, nothing happens. Green's it's like this
yeah,
super overly
yeah,
complicated thing. And
hmm
before he pulls the lever, he's like, "All right, this lever will randomize every single tile on this board. Good luck." He flips it, and it's just a straight path that you can walk through. It's the pink tile that does nothing, just the whole
yeah,
way across, which makes sense. I mean, if it was truly RNG, that's a complete possibility of happening. So,
yeah. And he's just kind of like, huh,
and then
like,
leaves.
yeah. He's like, all right, like he doesn't even try to defend that one.
Right.
Um,
And then you get to a
yeah, I don't
sans
know.
puzzle, and it's a crossword that you don't even have to do.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to my puzzle. It's literally just a crossword. Pretty
Yeah.
funny.
So anyway, we don't have to talk about that. I think they're
Yeah.
like, they really help build up his character a lot.
No, completely.
So
Literally 100%. But yeah, at the end of the pacifist papyrus fight, you end up going on a date with him. You go to his room. You go into him and Sans's house. Bunch of funny moments here.
hmm
Random stupid shit. The
yeah.
date is actually set up as like a combat screen. Like it brings up papyrus. There's like all these graphs of just stupid shit. Um, the whole date it goes pretty well. You start to learn each other. Papyrus sees it as like a competition of who the better dater is, whatever. But by the
hmm
end of it, Papyrus realizes like, hey, I fuck with you. We don't have to be in a relationship. Like we don't really vibe like that. Let's just be friends.
He gives you his
Which
phone number.
Yep. Which I think is really sweet. I think it was dope of Toby to do that, to be like, hey, sometimes you meet someone that you think could be something, but if it's not, you can still genuinely be friends. Like it doesn't gotta be this way or
Yeah.
that way. Like we went on a date, the shit didn't work out. That's fine. I still like being around you. We're still cool.
Yeah.
I always
There's
thought
actually
that
a
was
lot of
cool.
life lessons you can pull from Undertale, which
Oh,
I don't know if how much you want to get
completely.
into them. We'll probably maybe talk about it at the end
Yeah, I'm
of
down at the
at the
end.
end of the episode. But yeah, this is super cool. I think it's funny because Papyrus is the one that invites you on the date, and then he kind of acts like he's like, "Bro, I don't like you like that. Like, let's
Yeah.
just take it easy." you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is. I think that is super like cool of Toby to put it in like that, where he's just like, "Yeah, didn't work out, but we're still chill."
Right? But yeah, after that you're able
Papyrus
to
has
leave
feelings for someone
Snowden.
else anyway.
Oh my
So
god, yeah. That's actually a character that we're gonna meet soon, but
yeah.
um you leave Snowden, you enter the waterfalls. This is my favorite part of the game. I
hmm
think the entire waterfall section is set up for lore completely. There's these talking flowers that give you lore. There's like these signs on the wall that give you like the history of monsters. There's like this melancholy, beautiful song playing throughout the whole thing. I think it exists as a place in Undertale to elaborate on the world and give you all of it in like a cool way. You enter Waterfall, random puzzles, dumb stuff. You find a shop with a turtle in it who tells you about like the history of humans and monsters a little, how we ended up down here. But after that, you move on to what I was talking about. There's these flowers that speak. They take the last thing that was said around them and like reiter them. They're called echo flowers. Like you just hear the echoes of conversations coming from them. Um, and this whole
hmm
section here, you hear a conversation between two monsters. I think it crosses like the entire waterfall section. I think these two monsters were going for a walk and just sharing their hearts and souls to each other. And there's a really beautiful moment here where you overhear these two monsters talking about their dreams. They're like, "Hey, what's your wildest dream? What's something that you want more than anything?" The other monster goes, "If I tell you, you promise you won't laugh." The guy's like, "No, no, of course not." This monster says, "My dream is to see the outside world, feel the sun on my face, travel. Just I want to leave the underground. That's my biggest dream. The other
Yeah.
monster starts laughing. They're like, "Hey, why you said you wouldn't laugh?" And the other monster goes, "It's I just find it funny because like that's my dream too." Every single
Wow.
monster in the underground wants to leave, which
Yeah.
you think in your head, you're like, yeah, if I was locked underground, I'd want to leave. But this whole moment like humanizes them in a way. Like these
Hmm.
monsters have dreams. They're trapped underground. The only stars that they see are like these glowing crystals. They're tucked
Yep.
away into the furthest reaches of the earth, and they're just the same as me and you.
Yeah, I think that is encapsulated with that moment we were talking about before too, with Napstablook, where you're laying on the
Yeah.
ground with him. And I feel like the reason you see the stars is because that's what he really wants to see, and that's what he imagines seeing when he's like laying on the ground, vibing
Wait,
out.
hold on. Can you stop, Mike? What is
Yeah.
this?
It's an attack.
All right.
Yeah.
See, can you close my door?
Yeah, close it.
Thank you.
Those damn kids, dude. I'll tell you what.
They came in and they were just standing behind me giggling. I was like, maybe they'll leave. And then Abby pulls up and shoots me with a Nerf gun.
Nice. She gotcha.
My bad. What was your train of thought? I got lost.
Yeah, I can repeat myself. I'll
Yeah.
start the sentence over.
Thank you.
Just let me know when you're good.
I'm good. I'm ready.
Yeah, so I think that this whole thing kind of encapsulates like tying back to the moment with Napstablook where you're laying on the ground.
Yeah.
I like the reason you see stars is because that's what he wants to see. Like when you're just laying on the ground vibing out
Oh
with him.
my god.
You know, like he's imagining what the stars might look like. And you're a
Oh.
human, you already know what the stars look like.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, maybe like you could almost interpret it as like maybe you're showing him what the stars look like, you
Yeah.
know, through this vibe session that you're having.
That's a cool
Uh,
perspective. I actually had
you
never
know,
even thought about that. I could
but
100% see that. I always thought it was like a reference to that feeling when you're just laying down and you feel the whole universe around you. Um, I think that's so cool about Undertale, though, dude, that you can draw
mhm,
so many theories and questions and different stuff. I remember before
yeah.
all the secrets and lore of this game had been figured out. It was like FNAF, dude. Like, there's just so many
Oh my
possibilities.
God, people were going crazy online, dude. This was like, not to like get too much off track, but this was one of those things where, like, you just had it was one of those internet sensations that you just had to be there for, you
Right.
know?
I
Like
think.
if you were in the right communities and, you know, the right online spaces at the time, like it was just nothing but like screenshots and, well, what do you think this means? Well, this character says that. Do you think that they're
Yeah.
actually referencing blah blah blah? Like it was just crazy.
No, 100%. And that sense of community, I love to see. I know people make fun of Five Nights at Freddy's for that, for a super aggressive fan base, but it's really cool having something like this be able to bring so many people together to just talk about it.
Hmm.
Communities can be cool. I always urge people that judge like a game or a show off the community to like just ignore it, bro. Like go in there, get your own experience with it. Same thing happened with Rick and Morty. The fan base made that show so cringe and so unbearable. But at its core,
Yeah.
it's like a really good show. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
yeah, I also forgot to mention that before you enter Waterfall, actually, Sans asks you to go grab a bite to eat with him.
oh my God, this
Yeah.
scene, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
about
this
that.
is this is what cements Sans as like a real character and not just like a joke.
Yeah, complete. Do you want to explain it? Do you want me to explain it?
I can explain it, yeah.
Bet.
Yeah, I'll give you. You've been doing a lot of the heavy lifting, so, um, yeah. So you go to this restaurant with Sans, and he kind of sits you down, and as you're eating with him, and he's like, "Hey, did you happen to meet like a flower?" Random
Oh
question. You
shit.
know, did you happen to meet like a
uh,
potentially
uh.
psychopathic flower? And you're like, yeah, no, actually, as a matter of fact, I did meet a psychopathic flower that tried to kill me. And he's like, hmm, interesting. He's like, I have a theory about that flower, but
Yeah,
I'm not
because
quite sure what to make of it yet.
it's because Papyrus tells him that there's been a flower talking to him and like telling him all like these weird things, And Sans assumes it's an echo flower, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. Oh, a talking flower? There's echo flowers all over the place. That must be it, right? That's why he kind of brushes it off. He's like, someone's probably playing a trick on Papyrus, talking to this flower, messing with his head. But you know the truth. You know what's really going on there.
I think Sans also kind of knows the truth, to be honest with you, but just doesn't say it because he's not 100% sure.
Yeah.
And he doesn't think that you would really understand what he was talking about, so he doesn't bother.
Yeah. And I think this scene also subtly plants in your head that like Sans knows what's going on more or less, right? Like you think like he's just the silly guy cracking puns or whatever, but like he's got his eye out, you know, he's watching out for his brother, he's keeping tabs on what's going on in the area. Like he's not as lazy and useless as he makes himself seem. Like he's got a brain upstairs. He knows what's happening. He's keeping his eyes peeled.
Yeah, no, he like I said, it cements him as like a real like character and like somebody that you should like. Okay, maybe I should pay more attention to what this guy says.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. But Sans eventually leaves. Something interesting also to note here is that Sans, when you're at Waterfall and he offers to do this, says he knows a shortcut and kind of just like you guys end up teleporting there. Sans does this a lot where he'll like walk out of left frame and then appear right frame somewhere else like a moment after. Which you know,
is it really ever explained how he does that? I don't know if it is or not.
Kind of. In the lore of Sans and like who he truly is, which we'll get to at the end, it kind of does. It's mostly played as a bit, but Undertale being Undertale, every single thing has a reason behind it.
Right. Yeah, even like there's lore behind saving your game, which
is
crazy. But
yeah, it goes super deep.
Yeah.
But yeah, we travel into Waterfall, and on top of that conversation where it teaches you the heart and soul of monsters, it talks about the general history since the monsters came down here. There's King Asgore Dreamer. He ruled over the monsters with his wife, Toriel, which you're not supposed to know yet, but we know that obviously. They ruled over the kingdom. They founded their city. They called it home because this was their new home. Eventually, they end up leaving to go build a new kingdom further into the underground as their population expands, as the monsters grow. That's what the ruins are. It's the old main city. It's the old home. Just for context. And Toriel's living there because it's abandoned and she wants to be far away from everybody. After she finds out what Asgore has been doing, which this area
kind of wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah. The seal that keeps monsters underground can be broken with enough power. It makes sense if mages cast the spell, mages could uncast it or break through. But since monster souls are weaker, they need human souls, which the game then explains there are 7 human souls needed. 6 have been found and are held by Asgore. They need a 7th and final one, and then all of the underground will be free. And this is the moment where you're like, fuck, I'm the 7th soul. I am the last
this is kind of
soul.
like, this is like the stakes moment of the story, right? This is where like what's it, like every story has the moment where like what is actually at stake is defined.
Yep.
And in my opinion, this is where that happens for this game, is like right here.
Yep. You're like, okay, so I could save all these monsters at the cost of my own life. Is that something I'm willing to do? That's a conversation you have to kind of have with yourself. You are fundamental in changing the course of this entire world, and it's all dropped on you very quickly.
You didn't even mean to be here. You fell in here by accident. You're just trying to leave.
It's the ultimate Alice in Wonderland thing. Like, you literally are falling down a rabbit hole and getting so lost here. But yeah, you press onward in Waterfall with this knowledge. And throughout Waterfall, this kid that you meet in Snowdin, this little yellow guy, is talking to you about Undyne, the head of the Royal Guard. She's so badass. She's so cool. She'll demolish humans in an instant. You better not get in her way. kind of just hyping up Undyne, but all the while kind of making you like, oh shit, I'm probably gonna have to fight her.
He's actually following you because he wants to see her kick your ass. So
yeah, he wants to see
he's
a
like,
fight.
I can't wait for her to get here and beat you up. You're like, okay.
Yeah, this kid's wholesome, and through this kid, obviously you learn who Undyne is, but you're getting like this pulled back perspective. You're learning about Undyne, but as we find out later, this isn't who she truly is, but the game here is trying to hype it up to make Undyne seem like this ruthless killer, this unstoppable force, this great protector. And throughout this section, you get glimpses of Undyne almost catching you multiple times. You're hiding in bushes. Papyrus talks to her, saying that he failed to catch you. Undyne is like ruthlessly searching. There's a close contact point where like she comes into the grass with you, tries to grab you, grabs the kid instead. But eventually, you do come across her one-on-one. There's this whole chase scene where you're running across these boardwalks, and she's like
she's throwing stuff at you.
Yeah, hucking stuff at you. The floor has spears come through the ground. You're literally running for your life. At the end of the chase, she ends up just chopping this boardwalk in half, and you end up plummeting into an abyss to confront her later. But I want to say something here. When you fall down the abyss, there's like this text stuff that pops up. Someone's like, oh my god, you've fallen. Are you okay? What's your name? Oh, your name's blah, blah, blah. Mine is, it goes white, fades, and you wake up on a bed of golden flowers, which is important to note because when you fell at the start of the game, you also landed on golden flowers. Flowey is a golden flower. You know, if you're
it's all starting to tie together.
Yeah, if you're paying attention, you start to realize something here, right?
Yeah.
Other humans have fallen down. There's souls involved. These golden flowers are involved somehow. You press onward. And after you fall, you are in like this garbage dump. There's a mini boss. It's not like the important part here. But
Isn't it like the living dummy or whatever?
Yeah, you come across this living dummy who you have to fight. It's a pretty funny boss fight. But pretty short after, you just come across Undyne again. You meet the kid. There's some cool moments. There's like a piano. Just filler game. But I just want to cut right to Undyne here because I'm excited to talk about it. When you reach Undyne, she's standing atop like this big rock formation thing, whatever, and she goes on this big spiel about how, you know, we have 6 human souls, one final 7th one, the veil will be destroyed and monsters will be free. She's like, do you understand? Like, this is beyond you. This is beyond your life. The people I love, this whole underground needs your soul. Like, I feel like in this moment, she's not even trying to be an asshole. She's not trying to press you. She's just like, do you realize the weight of the situation here? I feel like she's trying to, like, genuinely get it through to you, like, whether I want to kill you or not, like, this has to happen. This is the only way.
Yeah, she's, like, speaking, like, to her own survival, basically.
Yep. Which I think is important because this whole time leading up to it, she's seen as, like, this ruthless killer, this person that just demolishes humans and, like, will actually green FN you type shit.
That's crazy.
But yeah, you see here in this moment that, again, just like every other monster in the underground, looks can be deceiving. This big scary armor that she has on, all the stories of people that they've heard about her. She's just trying to save the people that she loves, and she sees you as the way to do that. Up to this point, we find out that all the humans who have come before have not been as friendly as you. So they're going to assume, like you've been doing this whole time, assume things about you and assume that you must also be that way. But during the fight, as you dodge her attacks and quit fighting, she gets angry. She's like, why aren't you fighting back? Like, are you toying with me? Like, what do you think this is? During the fight, you have to run away from her. When your heart turns red, you'll run. She catches you. Repeat the cycle. Run. She catches you.
Oh, I do remember this. Yeah.
Yep. You're literally just running for your life, and the whole time she just gets more and more angry, and starts to like you start to remind her of her friends, and in that Undertale fashion, you start to like each other and realize that we actually don't need to be fighting, that we can come to a resolution here. But before that happens, she passes out because
Right, you get to like the heat area or whatever.
hot land, the next major area of the game.
With the conveniently placed water cooler.
Yeah, she's in this big ass metal suit of armor. She's a fish. She's obviously gonna overheat after an intense battle like that.
Yeah.
So, like Mike said, yeah, you walk over to a water cooler, pour some water on her face. Like literally, the animation is just dumping it on her. She wakes up awkwardly and leaves.
Yeah.
And that's
she's like,
yeah, that's the whole Undyne fight right there.
Yeah. No, she's a really cool character.
Facts. And it does explore her more. The first time I played, I didn't know that you could do like a whole section where you got to know her more. I just did it recently on my more recent playthrough, but you can, after that hot land thing, Papyrus says that he wants him, you, and Undyne to hang out, show up to her house. So you do that, you double back to Waterfall.
He's doing it because he wants, because the whole subtext here is that Papyrus has feelings for Undyne.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want, he's already friends with you, so now he's like, I have to make both my friends friends.
Yep.
So
I've been there.
It's like his whole logic. Yeah, who hasn't, right? So, but that's his whole logic, is he's like, well, if I put them in the same room together and I moderate, then surely
this
like everything will
well.
be fine.
Yep. So he does just that. You show up, Papyrus is standing there like, all right, we're gonna go into Undyne's house. He knocks on the door. Undyne's like, Papyrus, hi, are you ready for your one-on-one class? And he's like, yeah, I'm ready for the one-on-one class, but I brought a guest, by the way. And then you two just stare at each other awkwardly for like a long moment. Then you just go inside, and pretty much immediately Papyrus jumps out the window. He's like, all right, you guys are here, and then just jumps out the window and leaves.
That scene is so funny.
Yeah. You're like,
Like,
all
the
right.
sprite doesn't even move. He just slowly rotates out the window.
No,
it's so funny.
Yeah. And then there's just a whole section here where you and Undyne are like forcibly trying to bond. Like you can tell it's really awkward. It's pretty grating.
She really doesn't want to like you.
Yeah. But Papyrus ends up leaning through the window being like, oh, so you're not up to the challenge? And that just locks Undyne, and she's like, oh, it's a challenge now. I will do my very best to become your best friend. Bunch of silly shit happens, and it ultimately results after some cooking lessons with the entire place burning down. And you two just kind of like come to this resolution of, you know, some people don't like each other, and it is what it is, which is kind of funny because me and Mike were talking about that in our personal lives. But it's a good lesson, right? Like sometimes
it is a good lesson. Yeah.
Sometimes people just don't like each other. That doesn't mean you have to hate each other. That doesn't mean there has to be bad vibes. You can just not like each other, be civil, and that's it.
I think that's the resolution that Undyne comes to, is that I don't think she can like humans just because like she needs a human soul to leave, and she wants to leave. But she also realizes that like she doesn't have it in herself to hate you.
Yeah.
But she can never force herself to like you, so she has to just live with the fact that, everybody else is probably going to like you, and she's probably not going to.
Yeah. No, 100%, which I really like. And that's like we said, like Toby Fox slips in all these really good life lessons into this game, like super subtly and realistically, which I think is good. You know what I mean? A lot of kids played this game, and I really hope that through Undertale, it helped them, at least in a small way, form healthier relationships with people. That's completely off topic, though. But yeah. That's the end of the Undyne arc. She basically just says if you ever want to get in touch with her, call Papyrus because they're usually hanging out. And you move on to
kind
Hotland.
of a weird. Can we talk for a second about how why are they friends?
Right?
Like they are like total opposite personalities.
Yeah, Undyne explains basically just that when they showed up, Papyrus just so bad more than anything wanted to be part of the royal guard. and Undyne just wouldn't let him because I think she realized that he was just like a soft idiot and would probably get killed if humans ever went to war again, and was trying to keep him out of it to be nice. But he stood outside of her door, I think for like an entire night through to the next morning, and she realized that his resolve and commitment was absolute and gave him a royal guard position to humor him. I feel like the fact that she put them in Snowdon is interesting because I'm sure she knows that's where most humans come from, is out of the ruins. So maybe she did that because she wanted Sans to be there because she realized that Sans would actually handle shit.
Right.
Or did it to humor him? That's
and that
up for
Sans would
debate.
never let something happen to Papyrus.
Yeah. I think that's her logic, but it's never specifically stated. So who knows, right? But
Right. Yeah, it's up for interpretation.
yeah. But the next area of the game is Hotlands. This is the biggest area on the map. It's really confusing. You navigate it with like these elevators. There's like 3 floors on the left side, 3 on the right. Big complicated map. A lot of random shit happens here. But the most important part is Alphys. She's another one of the main pillars of this game. She's the royal scientist. Hasn't been doing it for that long. She only like decently recently became
spiritual lyrical.
became the royal scientist. You meet her, she talks about how she's been watching you this whole time, like she's had a camera feed everywhere, which throughout the game there's some secret spots where you can find hidden cameras. Like you'll interact with like a random spot behind a waterfall, it'll say there's a hidden camera here. She's got this entire underground tapped, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
She tells you she's been watching your journey and warns you about this like man-killing robot called Metaton that she created, who she repurposed to be like a entertainment bot, but still holds that same code. And she's seen that up to this point, if you're doing pacifist, that you've been nice to everybody, and that she'll help guide you around Metaton and help you avoid him. Pretty interesting stuff. She's like this quirky little dinosaur character who's into anime. I think it's really funny, actually. In this section, she has these bookshelves full of human history, and if you interact with them, it turns out that they're all just mangas. Like, it talks about humans with, like, swords 10 times their size slaying these massive, like, just really outlandish, crazy shit, which is really sweet. That, like, the monsters are reading, like, human fiction, seeing it as true.
It's actually funny, you can even find, when you first fall, back when Undyne cuts the boardwalk, you can actually find a discarded DVD case that says it was a case for an anime.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that.
And I guess at that point you're kind of like underneath where
oh yeah,
where
like
she is. So,
yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of like her guard. You're basically rooting through her trash.
Which is pretty
kind of funny.
It's that attention to detail, dude. Like so much attention to detail.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I won't go super deep on the whole Metaton section here because it's pretty long. You have multiple interactions with this fucking robot. Like you're on his game show for a little bit. There's a section where he just wants to kill you.
The cooking show.
Yep. But the very final Metaton fight, Metaton like busts out of this robot and enters his true form. Apparently, the lore gets a little weird here, but Metaton was a monster that lived next to Napstablook. I think they're cousins, and always wanted to be like in show business, wanted to be a star, but felt like their body was holding them back. So they go to Alphys to make them a new body, and all that crazy shit happens. It gets weird, but
yeah.
You fight the true form of Metaton, and the whole fight is to get the ratings up. Like at the top left, it shows ratings. There's a bunch of interactions.
because he's like a celebrity.
Yep, and it's all being broadcasted, and you have to hit like this view quota. You can up it through like eating on-brand foods and stuff, or like typing certain words when he asks you to like do like a spelling bee. I don't know. It gets weird, but eventually Metaton ends up like overheating, overpowering, or some shit, and breaks apart, and that's the end of the fight.
In the pacifist route, I'm pretty sure actually he's like he's like, let's get some support from the fans, and you can hear like all the fans of the show, like the other monsters in the underground calling in when he's like threatening to leave, and he's like, you know
Yep.
what? I can't leave my fans. I guess I'll stay here.
Yep.
And yeah.
But yeah, Hotland, you meet Alphys, you do the whole Metaton thing, and then you move on to the core area, which is the fourth and pretty much final main area of the game. There's like the
Mhm.
finale area after that you get to, but the core, you show up to Metaton's like hotel, and here actually is funny because you can meet Sans out front of the hotel, and you get like another dinner kind of thing with him, another hangout session. You're in the cafe
Yeah.
at Metaton's hotel. And this is a part where Sans gets kind of creepy. You guys just have general banter and just talk about stuff, everything that's happened up to this point. But he says something to you that's interesting here. He talks about how there's this person at the door of the ruins that he'd walk up to every day, had no idea who it was, and him and this person would talk through the door of the ruins, cracking puns to each other and jokes, and just like, you know, just built this like cute little relationship together where they'd meet up and share jokes.
Oh, yeah, I know what
And
you're referring to.
yeah, this is obviously Toriel,
Yeah.
right? He
It's
doesn't know
obviously
that,
Toriel.
but you do.
Right.
And Toriel makes him promise that if another human were to ever come through these doors, that no one would harm them. Because Toriel, I forgot to mention this, knows about the human souls and knows that Asgore's been farming them, which is why she left. She thought it was cruel that they were killing these humans and harvesting their power, wanted nothing to do with it. Asgore was just doing what he thought was right for his people and chose his people over his wife. That's why they separated. That's why she's in the ruins. And that is why she wants Sans to promise to not kill a human. Yeah, Toriel asks him, like, can you promise me that, like, if a human comes through here, you won't ever hurt them? And Sans makes that promise. And he tells you that he made that promise, but then follows it by, you know, if I hadn't made that promise, you'd be dead where you stand. And, like, there's this quiet moment where the music cuts and his eyes go full black in his little text box.
Mhm.
And then he goes, but, you know, it's whatever, man. I'm just messing with you, dude. But no, yeah, there's that serious moment where he's like, yeah, just know if I never made that promise, like, you would be dead. I would have obliterated you by now and taken your soul. And then just kind of brushes it off, and the lunch is over. And that's it.
Yeah. The lunch is over. Yeah, Sans is like, there's a reason that he's the fan favorite character of this game. You know, he's almost kind of like the main character in a sense.
Yeah, 100%. And that moment is like, throughout the game, you just realize more and more how serious Sans actually is, and that he hides it all behind like this goofy personality. Because I think at his core, Sans doesn't want to be powerful. He doesn't want to be in the situation that he's in. He has to be. He was gifted this immense power, and he feels like he has to use it to protect the people he loves. He doesn't want to be in the underground. He wants to get that final soul, but has a heart. That's why he hasn't killed you, I'm assuming, up to this point, right? Like, yeah, he made that promise to Toriel, but he sees that you're a good person. And he, in the genocide run, I know that's separate from here, but even, like, pleads with you at certain parts. Like, I know there's a good person in there. I know, like, we could be friends. Like, there's another world where this could all work out. Just kind of showing that Sans doesn't want to be a fighter. He doesn't want to be evil. He does these things for the people that he loves, similar to Undyne. Not a crazy theme or anything, but yeah, Sans is a complex character, which, like you said, is why I think so many people attach to him and really love him. He's got so many layers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's just he's a fascinating character, honestly. And I think it shows how much like Toby Fox knew what he was doing, because like there's a reason he put so much attention into Sans. Everything from the way he talks, the way he behaves, the way he moves around is like so intentional.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I think he knew when he was creating, like, this is going to be the character that everybody remembers from this game.
And oh my
You know?
god, was he. Sans Undertale,
Sans
Sans memes,
Undertale.
fucking... Yeah,
You can recognize the you can recognize Megalovania by listening to 2 seconds of that audio.
Yeah.
You know.
He's kind of become the unofficial mascot of the game,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
But I think it's for good reason. That's where I was
Yeah.
going with that. So.
But yeah, we're nearing the end here. This podcast has been
Mhm.
going a while. I'll push a little faster.
No, you're good.
Basically, after Hotland, after that whole Sands thing, you move to the core, which is close to Asgore in the kingdom. Like, your goal here is to reach Asgore because he is by the barrier. So whether,
Right.
you know, something terrible
You have to
happens
get
or
through him
something
to
good.
leave.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this has to happen. Everyone that you talk to is like, "Hey, you're going to have to fight Asgore, like prepare for this." And this is the final section before that. You're in the core, all the enemies are super strong, probably the hardest part of the game. Nothing like super crazy happens here. You basically just get a lot of stuff from Alphys. Like, she's helping you navigate all this stuff, turning off lasers and messing with things to help you progress. Kind of has a crush on you, which is cute.
You find out a lot about her background too here, I feel like.
Yeah, about her becoming the royal scientist and like the
Yeah.
stuff that she's done up to this point. But there is a section coming up after that goes even deeper. You might not have played that whole section of the game, like, so that might be new for you, but
I think I know what you're referring to.
yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, you go through core. I'm trying to think. Oh my god, yeah. So you go through all of core, and immediately after it is like the finale kind of section of the game.
Yeah, the capital.
Yeah, you get
Yep.
to see the big, beautiful city. These big, like, long stretches of area, whatever, and you eventually reach the front door to Asgore's castle. But before that, you talk to Sans again. There's this big,
Again.
long, like, beautiful room with, like, these columns, big windows. It's one of, like, the prettiest rooms in the game. And I think people call this, like, the judgment room or some shit, because depending on what your run is, your interaction with Sans here determines how the game ends and like what end game content you get. You walk up to Sans. If you're doing true pacifist, he talks to you about just you're a good person. You spared all these people. You showed you have a great heart. Good luck with Asgore, and basically just gives you a thumbs up and pats you on the ass and is like, good luck in there, buddy.
Yeah, he's like, see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It was
just
nice
true
knowing ya.
pacifist. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do other runs, he'll get more elaborate and kind of start being a dick to you in this moment. But we're good guys on this playthrough, so we
Right.
don't got to worry about any of that.
If you're on, well, I know we're not doing the genocide run, but if you are doing like a genocide run or just like a mostly evil playthrough, this would be where you fight him.
Oh yeah, he literally
Yeah.
tells you, he's like, "You're cooked, buddy."
Yeah, he's like, my promise is no longer valid.
If I let you through, you will eviscerate not only all the underground, but all of humanity too. Like, you are a demon and need to be stopped at all costs.
Yeah. So.
Tells you that you should be burning in hell.
Yep.
But yeah, you go through. Before you get to the fight with Asgore, though, there's a not-so-secret room. I'm sure most people have seen it. You find this room with a bunch of coffins, all with different colored hearts on them. If you count, there's 7 of them. One of them at the end has your name written on it, and it's empty. Which kind of, like, you know, you can see the symbolism
like,
there.
Oh, I see.
You go up, you fight Asgore. And what's interesting about this is when you walk into his throne room, it's a massive bed of golden flowers. But more importantly than that, there's sunlight. This is the only room in the entire game, besides the first room, that has sunlight coming through it. That's why you ride an elevator for super long. Like, you're going up, you're at the capital, the peak. Like, you are so close to escaping the underground, and that sunlight is symbolism of that. The only places in the game where the golden flowers grow are places where there's sunlight. Except for after Undyne, when you fall on that bed of flowers in, like, that trash heap. That's symbolic, and we'll get to why the golden flowers exist there. But Asgore doesn't want to fight you. Like, he's talking to you, trying to connect with you. You both realize that this has to happen. Like Asgore's literally got the mentality of like, I don't want to hurt you, you don't want to hurt me, but there has to be a resolution here. I need your soul. You want to leave. Like, it sucks. Like, there's no malice. There's no hatred. It's just like this. This is a thing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Something interesting actually to note here is if you die to Asgore during the fight, you can talk to him on like your second, third, whatever attempt, and you basically tell him that like you've been here before, like we've fought already, and he like nods his head sadly and stares at the ground, making Asgore also one of the few people that has knowledge of the past or like the save system. I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know if it's ever explained, but something interesting
I
to
don't know
note.
if it's there's only like 3 characters who know about the whole like gimmick with the save system and
Yeah.
how it ties into the lore. It's like Flowey, Sans, I'm pretty sure
Sans.
knows about it, and I think Asgore
Yeah, kind of.
and
And
you, I guess.
yeah,
But
it's interesting though.
so
So
it is interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
you do the fight with Asgore, and at the beginning of this fight, he takes his massive trident and just hucks it through the mercy button, which it's like this big symbolic thing of like no mercy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you
like you
can't.
have to kill this guy.
Yeah, like there's no sparing, there's no more mercy. Like I said, like this has to fucking happen, which I really like about the Undertale story. That, like this whole thing is building up, and if you're doing true pacifist, like it's this unavoidable event that no one wants to be a part of. Kind of just showing that like I don't know. We'll get into symbolism after. You do the fight, you have
Yeah.
to fight him, and before like he's about to die, before you officially kill him, since this is true pacifist, that doesn't happen.
Hmm.
You get him to like not give up but spare you. You spare him. You guys are both just exhausted after fighting, and then
Yep.
Flowey arrives before there's
Oh
any
my
meaningful
God.
conclusion, before you realize what's happened. Flowey shows up, and let me make sure I'm getting my lore right here actually with what
This
part
character that
Flowey
you've like
talks
kind of
about here.
forgotten about up till this point. Like he shows up once, I think, after the initial part of the game, and like Sans briefly mentions him during one of your like little hangout sessions.
But like yeah,
But
you
like
go hours without hearing about Flowey.
yeah, like you've probably forgotten about him by this
Yeah.
point
And he just
because he's
re-pops up full power. And I want to be clear here. I could be mistaken on the exact events and how this goes because it gets detailed and kind of complicated. If I did miss
Mhm.
something, it'll be small. You can correct me in the comments, but he I believe this is the part where you do the Flowey fight. He basically says that he's going to like destroy everything, do evil shit. He crashes your game, and when you
Yep.
relaunch, you're in the Flowey fight. He's like this big Photoshop looking monster who has like these absolutely insane unavoidable attacks. Like
It's actually disgusting.
yeah, he looks
Yeah.
horrifying. He's an actual just like monster. Tons of shit happening. I couldn't explain the whole fight to you, but there's no mercy. There's no fighting. There's just you are getting shit on. You'll probably die a few times. Each time you die, you have to relaunch the game.
Yeah.
But you can eventually defeat him, and I believe after you defeat Flowey for the first time, you reload your save, and when you go talk to Asgore and everything.
So, well, after the Flowey fight, if you're doing true pacifist, obviously you spare him. Like that's the resolution to the
Yes.
fight, and he asks you why. Like why? He's like, why are you sparing me? Like I literally don't have a soul. I'm like a terrible being. Like I'm a being of pure evil. Like I've literally just told you. It's almost like a Smiling Friends bit. Where
Yeah.
he's like, I literally just told you I'm about to kill you. Like I don't know why you're
Yeah.
showing me
And if you
mercy.
save me, I'm gonna continue to be a monster. So like,
Yeah.
but you end up sparing him, and at the end of this like entire section, you start to find out the truth of who Flowey is. He gives you like some brief blurbs and stuff about it,
Mhm.
but it turns out that Flowey is Asriel. I forgot to mention that before the Asgore fight. You have this whole thing talking about Asriel, the son of Asgore and Toriel.
Yep.
Another human before you had fallen down, and Asriel and Asgore took them in as their own kid. But it was a human and a monster getting along, which like to the underground was like an impossible, unheard of thing. But things went terribly sour, unfortunately.
Yeah, Kara
Kara,
ends up dying.
yep, and her final
Yeah.
wish is to be brought back to the human world and to be laid to rest on a bed of golden flowers. And as Azriel brings Kara to the outside world to do this, the humans think that it's Azriel's fault, start freaking out, and I believe they kill him, right?
I think so. The lore gets a little bit confusing here, to be perfectly clear.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of struggling a little bit,
Yeah,
like
but
connecting
he died.
everything.
The
But
important part is that he ends up dying, while he's bringing Kara's body to the surface.
yeah,
And this is what sends Asgore into like a frenzy, where he's like, I'm gonna break the seal and I'm gonna
kill all
kill
these
every single human
humans.
because my
Yep,
son is dead.
yep,
And then this is like the first domino, right? This is why
yeah,
Asgore goes crazy, which means Toriel goes to the ruins, which means Sand starts talking to her through the wall, which means
yep.
Undyne becomes captain of the
And
royal
it all
guard,
starts
and
making sense.
and that's how you get to where things are, by the
Yep.
time that you fall down into the hole.
And then there's this big reveal that Flowey is Asriel, corrupted somehow with like the mix of the human soul, because if you mix a monster and a human soul, terrible things happen. That's something humans were fearful of and why they waged war in the first place.
Also
But
something that Alphys was trying to do,
oh yeah, trying to
so that
replicate.
she was
Yep.
trying to create the seventh human soul so that Asgore could actually break the seal.
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
she accidentally created Flowey in the process.
Yep. And before we go too deep on Flowey, actually, because more gets explained here, Flowey basically at the end of this whole thing, after dumping on you all this, after you spare him, basically being like, well, there's unfinished business in the world. If you do truly care, go back and wrap it up. And you have to go back to Alphys's lab, and this is where you get the quote unquote like secret extra level of true lab. Um,
Right,
it's
this is
this
where the Amalgites are.
Yep, it's like this.
Yep.
It's this covered up operation where this old scientist W.D. Gaster was working on stuff. It ended up failing. You would have to watch like lore videos or like Matt Pat's explanation of it. There's a really deep and complex thing with True Lab here tied in with the rest of the game that explains where Sands and Papyrus truly came from.
Right.
I don't fully understand it, so I'm not going to pretend to, but it's there for people that really are into it. But True Lab basically exists to show you the failures of Alphys, the determination experiments that Mike was talking about, trying to replicate
Yep.
human souls, trying to create power to wage war against humans with. I mean, that's what Asgore tasked her with. But things go terribly. These amalgamites are like these blends of souls that all got like ruined and corrupted. It's kind of like dark because Alphys is such a sweet
It is
character,
really dark.
and like
Yeah.
seeing this horrible, terrifying like lab and like covered up past of hers is
It's also
interesting.
implied that this is why she has no self-confidence
Yeah,
now,
because everything she
is
did
because she
failed
failed. Yeah.
miserably.
There's like a whole subplot that happens where Undyne ends up like giving you a love letter to give to Alphys, and she thinks it's from you, and so you have to go on another date with another Undertale character.
Yeah.
And
What's funny
then at
about
the
this
end,
date, I want to say quick, because it's like a whole
yeah,
level. She ends up kind of admitting to you that like she doesn't really think you and her are compatible or work out. Her true love is also Undyne. I feel like everyone in the
right,
underground has a crush on this fish woman. But
yeah,
Undyne shows up, and they just kind of have this beautiful moment about honesty, not holding secrets, and being genuine with your emotions and all this stuff.
yeah.
I sh-
Papyrus
yeah.
shows up and becomes like Alphys' life coach, which is pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Yep,
He's
yep,
like wearing
yep.
a headband and everything. It's like super hilarious. It's a
Yeah,
really
sweet
nice
moment.
scene. I think it is kind of implied that Undyne does kind of have feelings for Alphys. Like she's
Yeah.
the character that it actually gets reciprocated to.
Yep.
So, which
But,
also makes it funny that Papyrus is there again. But
but
uh,
yeah.
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 So
After
yeah,
you do
she's
that,
another like surprisingly complex character.
yeah, all of them are more or less.
Hmm.
But yeah, after that thing, you're in like official end game. You travel back to Asgore, and you come to this like peaceful resolution of like, I'm willing to use my soul to help you all escape. Like, you don't have to kill me. I'm willing to save all of you. So,
Hmm.
and mix with the human souls that they had and your soul and all the monsters, everyone in the underground like unites and breaks the seal. And that's where you get your happy ending. It's all the monsters that you got to know and love here, looking out at a beautiful sunset, talking about the future. They ask Frisk to be the ambassador between humans and monsters. This
Hmm.
really beautiful final scene.
Well, first you kind of skipped over. First you get stopped by Flowey.
Again,
Do you
yeah.
remember?
No, you're
You get
right.
stopped by Flowey, and he like takes all of your friends hostage, and he keeps killing you over and over again, but you don't actually die. Like, and normally when you die, your heart shatters into a bunch of pieces, and you get a game over screen. But in this fight, every time you die, it says you're too determined, and
Yeah.
your heart puts it back together, and you keep going. And that's when like Flowey eventually you defeat him, and he actually turns back into Azrael. Um,
His hyper
and
death god form.
yeah,
God of hyper
yeah,
death.
yeah, God of Hyper Death, and then you defeat him, and he turns into like his actual child self.
Yep.
Um, and he realizes that he's caused everyone so much hurt. Um, and it's implied that he is actually the responsible for the other 6 humans falling into the underground in the first place and getting
Yep.
killed. Um, and he apologizes, and you give him a big hug, and because this is true pacifist, you give him a hug, and he goes back to Kara's grave and kind of just stands there, which is the place where you first fell into the underground.
Yep. And I
Um,
forgot to mention too, actually, I can't believe I skipped over this whole section. I'm just off today. But after you do everything in the game before you get that like true final ending, after you do all the Azrael stuff, you can walk back through the underground and like talk to all the characters, let them know that they're all free. Like you just get like
and you
this
can go through
really
the
cute
entire
post
game.
game thing. Yep.
Yeah.
And if you go all the way back to the first room, like Mike said, where Kara's grave is, that bed of flowers you fell on, you can find Azrael there, and you get like this whole conversation where he's like, "Hey, I know how this works. I know about all the save thing. I know about the timelines. Like, I'm not going to be this way forever. Once the game is reset or once this is over, I'll become Flowey again. But just remember that I'm in here. Remember that I want to be free." And this part of the game also, where you are talking to Flowey before he turns into Azrael, you get like this super long segment where Flowey talks about how when he was a flower, he was immortal and life was like ever going, and that he couldn't feel compassion or love anymore because he didn't
Couldn't
have a
feel anything.
soul. Yep.
Yeah.
So he ended up just killing like people and killing monsters and doing things out of pure boredom because he had just like he'd gotten so bored. He's one flower, can't do much. Eternity's in front
Hmm.
of him. He can't connect with people. He's not who he used to be. And it kind of explains to you that Flowey isn't necessarily evil, even though he is. He was driven to being evil by his circumstances, by his like complete and utter emptiness, his boredom. Like he's not evil just to be evil. He's evil for a reason.
Right.
Just like every other character in the game, right? Like they have these layers
Right.
and reasoning behind them. But
I think this is where the theme. So we can talk about this in a second, because yeah, after this, you go through all the, you can talk to everyone, and then you go up and you see, like you were saying before, all the characters are standing on the ledge outside, and they're all excited about being on the surface. and they all kind of go their own separate ways until it's just you and Toriel standing there. And Toriel asks you what you want to do, and you can say you either want to stay with her or you have places to be. And that's it. You get to see the credits roll. You see a whole bunch of like a little montage of all the characters exploring the surface. My favorite, of course, is Papyrus driving the convertible
That's
down the
classic.
freeway.
Yeah. There's
Um,
also Undyne and Alphys at the beach together, being
yep.
cute.
Um,
Toriel is like bringing people to school and like being like a motherly figure on the outside world.
but but that's it. That's the main story for True Pacifist.
Yeah, that's Undertale. Round of applause.
Yeah. Round of applause. I know, we were a little bit kind of scatterbrained this episode, but Seth, if you had to pick one theme out of this game, we were talking about how this game has a lot of life lessons in it.
Yeah.
Um, about like how sometimes relationships don't work, but that doesn't mean you don't have to hate each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just don't like each other, and it's okay to be at peace with that.
Yeah.
That you're not gonna like everyone you meet. Um,
Yeah.
there's Alphys, I think, teaches a lesson about like, not letting your failures define you, you know?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, but if you had to pick one theme throughout this game, what do you think what is in your opinion, like the big theme to take away from this game?
I think the most massive theme of this game, and it's the reason why Matt Pat gave Undertale to the Pope, is it's an idea that's been said before. It's not like new or revolutionary, but I think this game puts it in a very real concept and makes it personal to you because it's your own journey. The
Mhm.
idea of truly not judging people before you get to know them. You know what I mean? Getting to
Mhm.
know every single person, their loves, their wants, their dreams. And if someone does shit you don't like, figuring out why. Why is this person mean? Why does this person like shout or, put their emotions on other people? A lot of the times, if someone has a negative personality trait you don't like, you just assume that it's because they're bad and you don't go any further than that. But Undertale makes you
Mhm.
look at each person, why they tick, what makes them who they are, and that every person at their core is good. Like there's good and bad people, there's bad and good people. You just have to get to know them and always use
Mhm.
like compassion and like this game says mercy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest lesson of Undertale and the overarching thing. There's connections that you can make there about racism, obviously, between the two races and whatever. But I think it's really that to love people, not to judge people, and to understand people.
Yeah, I agree. If I had to put it in one word, it would be understanding, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
Yep. Yep.
and if you really think about it, almost everything that happens in this game, like in the plot, is a result of a misunderstanding,
Yep.
right? Like, Kara dies because of a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Asriel dies because of a misunderstanding. Asgore tries to kill all the humans and break out of the underworld because of a misunderstanding,
Yep.
which leads to Toriel isolating herself, which leads to, whatever, so many other things.
Yeah.
Um, all because of, I mean, you could even argue that Alphys' experiments failed because she didn't really understand what
She
it
was toying
takes to
with.
like to create a soul,
Yeah.
and the root, in my opinion, the theme of all this is that if everybody just took a second to understand the other person and the other side of the situation, that everything wouldn't be as fucked as it is by the time you get there,
It's
you
so
know?
fucking true, bro.
And so that's, I
So
think, the
fucking
big
true.
lesson that that's Undertale's message that it wants to say if you had to pick one is, like you said, just to take the time to understand people. Like try
Completely,
to,
dude.
put yourself in somebody else's shoes or understand like where they're coming from. People don't often do things without a reason, and
Exactly.
it only takes a couple minutes to try and understand that reason before you
Right.
just completely write them off.
And I think
Um,
that's like personally one of the reasons that I resonated with Undertale so much. Before I'd ever played this game, that was a genuine way that I lived my life. And I think is why people generally see me as like a nice person or like why they want to spend time around me is because I've always done that. I've always taken the time of, like, if there's some weird quiet kid at school that didn't have friends, like I'd just talk to them and get to understand them, and then you find that there's like a really good person under there, right? I've just never
Yeah.
judged people firsthand. I've always tried to get to know them before doing that. And playing a game where I could truly be myself and exist how I am in the real world and not be punished for that, but rewarded, was really awesome. And I think for people that don't have that mentality who come into this game, it'll genuinely teach them a profound lesson that'll shape the way that they see life, I think.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that's really beautifully put. Gonna make me tear up on this damn show.
Right?
Uh, but yeah,
Wow.
no, I think Undertale is, on its face. My closing thoughts is that on its face, it's like a silly little game about silly little monster characters that say funny things.
Yep.
Um, and it is that to an extent. It is a
Yeah,
silly little
completely. Yep, yep.
RPG game. But I think if you dig a little bit and you really, give yourself time to think about what the game says, that you can walk away with, uh, you know,
A
even a
lot.
slightly better understanding about life. You know,
1000%. And it all
um,
came from the mind of one man. One dude.
Mr. Toby Fox. Side note: Toby Fox. Do you know he's now a lead composer for Nintendo?
That's sick. Dude,
He's
Nintendo
worked
probably
on
heard
like the last
Undertale
three.
soundtrack and was like, bruh, how did we not
He's
think of Megalovania first?
yeah, he's made soundtracks for like he's been on like the last 3 or 4 Pokemon generations, I think.
That's so
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so he's doing well for himself.
And he's working on Deltarune, the
Oh,
successor
true.
to Undertale. And I've
Yeah,
played
the sequel.
Deltarune briefly. I haven't played enough of it to like really give you honest opinions on it. But what I will tell you about Deltarune is chapters 1 and 2 are out. It's an early release and you can play it for free. As far as I know, um, chapter 3 and 4 are coming soon, but it's not confirmed. But if you have Steam, you can download the first 2 chapters for free. It's really fleshed out and they're long. It's not like a short little demo. Like a good amount of this game is done and fully realized and polished. So if you're looking for more Undertale, 100% play Deltarune, support Toby if you can. Financially, he just has a merch store, and he's like, if you want to support Deltarune, buy some merch. That's it.
Get
You
in
don't
there
have
fast.
to.
It sells out super quick.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. I was
Even to
going
this day,
through
the
there.
Undertale merch is still flies off the shelf.
Yeah,
So
bro. Dude, I looked a few days ago, and there's a Sans figure on there that's literally already sold out, and it dropped like not even that long ago, like a decade after the game released too.
yeah,
Like
I
people
mean that
fucking
just
love
shows
this
you how
game.
much of an impact this game had on people.
Yep.
Obviously it had an impact on us. We spent this long yapping about it.
Right. Also, I beat
So
Sans. I want that to be known to the world. Anyone
yes, he
who's
did kill
listening.
Sans in the genocide run he's doing. Um,
I'll actually,
we all joke, but it's actually not easy.
dude, it's fucking not. I want to put at the end here. Genocide run's really easy to talk about because it's brief. Basically, when you load in there, you kill everything, and that means farming. Like in the game, each area has a certain amount of spawns that can happen. Like when you walk around and it naturally pings, you have to farm every single one of those till they're all dead. And then the next time an enemy prompt comes up, it'll say nobody came. You get 2 unique boss fights. All the other ones you can kind of one tap everything because you're so powerful. But Undyne has a secret boss fight called Undyne the Undying. Incredibly difficult. That one probably took me like 10, 15 attempts. But then, of course, you have to fight Sans. That's where Megalovania comes from. Huge fight. Everybody knows about it. But yeah, it's incredibly difficult. It took me like
Unless you're doing a
47
genocide run, you
attempts.
don't have to fight him at all.
No. Yeah,
Um,
no. It's only
Even
in
in like a neutral
Genocide.
run. Yeah.
Yeah, only Genocide you get this fight. It's incredibly difficult, bruh. It's so difficult. But after you do a Genocide run and complete it, Kara actually talks to you at the end of Genocide. Flowey ends up horrified of you, which is funny. At the end of the game, Flowey's like begging to be a part of your team and for you not to like massacre and obliterate him.
Hmm.
But Kara will appear to you at the end of Genocide after you demolished the world. When you reload your game, it'll be black screen for 10 minutes until Kara shows up and basically offers you to give up your human soul to her because she doesn't have one anymore. And if you do that, she'll bring the world back. So you offer up your soul, you can replay the game like nothing's wrong. But if you get a true pacifist ending, these are called soulless runs without your soul, and you reach the end, you get a special cutscene with Kara in it, which is cool.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
have
yeah.
it. I don't even think I've ever done that. So
I'm in the process of doing it right now. I haven't even seen the cutscenes, so I'll get back to you on that.
oh yeah, you'll have to let us know how that is.
Yeah. This podcast
But if
was
you had to
long,
give,
dude.
it was long, and we still have one more thing to do. If you had to give this
Yeah.
game a score out of 100, Mr. Seth, what are you giving it?
I'm going to give Undertale a objective 90. And my reasoning is those 10 points are deducted because I can truly see people having an issue with this art style. I really love it. I love simplistic art. I love silly, goofy stuff like this, simple sprites. But I've heard a lot of people were turned off from Undertale with how simple it is. I can definitely see the art style putting people off.
It's an 8-bit game, so I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
So I could objectively see that being an issue with people. I know that it is.
it looks like an Atari game.
Yeah. Like, I don't judge people for having that. If it looks bad and bothers you, I have no issue. And I would also say that, not that it's short, but unless you know about True Pacifist or know about genocide, this game does feel pretty short and like there's not a lot of content. But that's because you have to search out and find all those extra hours, like True Lab, the Azrael fight, doing both genocide and whatever. So I think the main campaign itself, for people that just do a neutral run, that don't want to be super bogged down by all the weight of decisions. That's why Markiplier stopped playing the game. People were like, you have to do pacifist, you have to do this. Sometimes people just want to play a game how they want to play it, one time, never come back. Unless you're replaying all the endings for Undertale, it can be a pretty short and underwhelming experience. If that makes sense.
No, I get it. I mean, that's what I did. You know, I played
Yeah.
it once normally, and then I went back like a year later and I played a true pacifist run.
And you were like,
And,
holy shit, there's so much more content
Yeah, and
here.
I was like, wow, that's when I was like, okay, this game is like better than just like a, you know, stupid little indie RPG.
And like, I'm not gonna put that
you
on
know.
the player, which is why I deducted points. Right? Like, it's not the game's fault that it's complicated and that you have to do multiple runs to get it.
You mean it's not the player's fault?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, that kind of thing certainly doesn't appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
I don't think it should have to, for what it's worth, but you know, I would give the game a 95. To be honest, I think as far as indie games go, it's pretty close to perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
So there are some parts that I think the only reason I'm not giving it a perfect score is there are some parts I think that do kind of drag a little bit, where the lore is not. The Hotland is a little long, and especially like if the lore is complicated, like we said.
Yeah.
And if you can't put the pieces together, or you can't be bothered to put the pieces together, there's some parts of this game that you're just not going to get a lot out of.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the player's fault. I think that the game could definitely convey its plot a little clearer and not lose anything really.
Yeah.
Not that it's not super rewarding to figure it out because it's like this, but there are games that have a similar kind of plot line that do it a lot better.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
But it's a great game. If you haven't played it, you should play it.
100%.
And that's been Skill Issue.
Thank you guys so much for watching this. This was a long ass episode, dude. I've had a weird day, so I was a little shaky, a little off, but hopefully y'all enjoyed this, right?
Yeah, who doesn't like Undertale? Put in the comments what game you want us to talk about next.
And put in the comments how many attempts it took you to beat Sans. I'd love to know so I can see how shit I am. 47's my number.
put in the comments how many pieces of information we got wrong about the lore.
Yeah, that ending, I started to get
you
a
know.
little shaky. I was like, fuck, I'm probably gonna fuck something up here.
Yeah, so feel free to roast us in the comments because we probably deserve it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the classic bit that we always do at the end of every episode.
Oh, always the same every
Um,
single time.
Yeah,
Count us
every
down.
single time. All right, ready? Oh, am I counting you down or are you counting us down?
Yeah, you count us down. Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Fuck you.
Determination.
Eat shit. Die. Sorry.
All right. See you next time.